Hello students, I am here with another video from the chapter of class 7th NCERT book, that is Motion and Time. Now before starting today's video, I would like to tell you all that till now what all things we have discussed in this lesson. So we have started with the word motion, and then I said that motion means whenever an object is moving from one place to another place. It means that whenever an object is facing a change in its position is known as that object is moving in some means it is showing a kind of motion. Now next we have discussed about the types of motion, which were of different kinds, like it was of slow motion, it could be fast motion, or then we have also seen about the oscillatory motion and then rotational motion, then rectilinear motion. So many types of motions we have discussed on that day. Okay, so next we have discussed was the topic of speed. So what does this speed means? Speed means that whenever an object is moving from one place to another place, it is moving with respect to something. Now there is one reference point of view, means if we need to see that whenever an object is moving from one place to another place, it is moving in with reference to two things. Now what are these references? So the first reference was the distance, and the second reference was the time. So whenever an object is moving from one place to another place, it is moving with respect to two things. One is this distance and second one is this time. So whenever an object is moving means whether it is moving slow or fast, we could just come to know by comparing with these two properties, that is from distance and from time. Okay, now there is one relationship between this distance and time, is that it is equal to the speed. Now what was the speed? Speed of any object is the distance upon time taken. Means speed, whenever we need to define the speed, it means that the speed is equal to the distance travelled upon time taken, which means that whenever an object is moving at certain speed, for example say for 50 kilometers per hour, it means that in a unit time, in 1 hour, it is moving 50 kilometers. Okay, so if we need to know that whenever an object is moving from one place to another place, it is moving with certain speed, and this speed is always the comparison between the object, the distance travelled, and the speed of any the distance travelled and with respect to time. Okay, next I have told you that whenever if something is written like 30 meter per second, it means that the object is moving 30 meters in 1 seconds. So this meter per second was the SI unit of the speed. So these all things we discussed yesterday. Now today I am going to tell you about some more things which is related with the speed. For example, if you need to take out some numericals, some questions which is related with this speed, is that how will you take out? So if we write one question that when an object is traveling, or simply we could say when an object is traveling from one place to another place with means the distance is given, distance is given as 30 meters and time is given as 3 seconds. Now you need to find out the speed of this object. Okay, for example, I have given you just a direct question of that in which one is written that distance is equal to 30 meters and time is equal to 3 seconds. Now what about speed? We need to calculate the speed by a formula that is known as distance upon time taken. Now if we know the distance and time, we can simply find out the speed. Okay, we could simply find out the speed. So what would be the speed? So speed of an object which is traveling will be equal to the distance travelled, that is 30 meters upon 3 seconds. Okay, so if we have calculated this 30 meters with 3 seconds, it means that it is equal to 10 meter per seconds. So this would be the speed of an object which is traveling, which needs to travel this 30 meters in 3 seconds, should have the speed of 10 meter per second. It means that this object should always travel from one place to another place to have this speed of 10 meters per second. Okay, so it should have that it should travel 10 meters in 1 second. Then only it could reach that distance, it could cover the distance of 30 meters in 3 seconds. Okay, so this was about the numerical. How would you solve these kinds of questions? Now if I say some more questions like this, if you have been given that distance of 2 kilometer has to be traveled in 1 hour. Okay, now what kind of answer, how would you find out the answer to this question? Now you have given the distance in kilometers and time is given in hours. Okay, now if you find out this, what could be the speed of this object, the speed of the object could be the distance upon time taken. So here distance is given as 2 kilometers and time is given as 1 hour. So the answer would be 2 kilometer per hour. Okay, so this was very easy. As you could see here, only if the time is given 1 hour, it means that the object is moving 2 kilometers in 1 hour. It means that an object should have a speed of 2 kilometer per hour. Okay, now what about if this becomes 5 kilometers and the time becomes 2 hours? Now what about this? So this here it becomes 5 kilometers and the this becomes 5 kilometers and the time becomes 2 hours. Now what would be the answer? Quickly find out the answer for this question and please tell me. So the answer would be, you have to divide this 5 kilometers with 2 hours. You will simply divide this and you will get the answer, and whatever answer you are getting, that would become as 2 kilometer. That would be the speed of this object. Okay, so quickly find out the answer and tell me. So the answer would be what? I think you all have found out the answer for this question. The answer for this question would be 5 divided by 2, it becomes 2 2s are 4, 1 will be left out, so it will be 2.5 kilometer per hour. Okay, so this is about the distance which is being traveled. That would be the speed would be 2.5 kilometer per hour. Okay, it will be 2.5 kilometer per hour. Fine. So I think this is not visible at last, that is why I have written this answer over here. Okay, so it is 2.5 kilometer per hour. Similarly, if you need to find out, if you have given the distance of, for example, if you have given a distance of 20 meters or say for example it is 60 meters and you have given the speed as 10 meter per second, you need to find out the time. How would you find out the time for this question? So you know that the formula of for calculating the speed is equal to distance upon time taken. Okay, so what would be the answer for this question? You need to know that distance is already given 60 meters and time you don't know. Speed is given 10 meter per second. Now if we cross multiply, this comes here and this goes here. So what would be the answer for t is equal to, time is equal to 60 upon 10. So the answer would be 6 seconds. Okay, so the answer would be about 6 seconds. Okay, so the answer is 6 seconds. Okay, now this is how you're going to find out the answer for other questions also. You can frame some questions and write down the answer for this question. If two things are given, you can simply find out the third one. Okay, so this is how you can calculate the different ways, different questions which is related with this speed. Okay, so if we are calculating the speed, if we need to know at least two things we should know for calculating, either calculating the speed, or we can have the we could have the other quantities also, and we could find out the speed of any object, or when the speed and time is given we can find out the distance. If distance and time is given, we can find out the speed, and if speed and time is given, we could find out the distance. Okay, so if we have two quantities with us, we can simply find out the third quantity by substituting the values and finding out the value which is not present. Okay, now if you have to if we will move on to the next topic. I think that is given in your NCERT book. After speed is this the types of motion according, and that is based upon the comparison of the speed. Now there are two types of motion whenever we are comparing these types of motion on the basis of the time and the distance traveled. Okay, so that there are two types of motion. One is the types of motion on the basis of the speed, that is or if we compare the distance and time, it could be of two types. One is the motion that is known as uniform motion, and the second is known as the non-uniform motion. Now what do you mean by uniform and non-uniform motion? Now if I say that uniform motion means it is a way by which we can say that an object is traveling it is covering a particular distance, it is covering equal distance in equal interval of time. Okay, and what about non-uniform motion? Non-uniform motion means it could be of different types. Okay, if we are comparing this distance and time, we could say that if an unequal distance is traveled in equal interval of time, then the motion is said to be as uniform motion. Okay, so this is about the way by which we could say that there are two types of motion on the basis of the comparison of the distance and time. Fine. So this is how we can understand very easily that, for example, if an object is traveling, for example, a train is there or a bus is there which is traveling with a uniform speed, it means that it is said to be in uniform motion. Now what about uniform speed? It means that this uniform motion or uniform speed both are considered to be the same. Whenever we are talking about the uniform speed, it means that an object is traveling equal distance, covering equal distance in equal interval of time. For example, if an object is traveling 1 meter in 1 second, then again 1 more meter, that is 2 meter in 2 seconds, 3 meters in 3 seconds, and so on. It means that it is traveling with an equal speed. So that is why this type of motion is known as the uniform motion. Okay, so this is about one type of motion where an object is traveling with a uniform speed. It means that it is traveling in a uniform motion. Now if we need to calculate the uniform speed, we can easily calculate this. If this is traveling with 1 meter in 1 second, if we need to find out the speed, it becomes distance upon time 1 upon 1. It means 1 meter per second. Similarly, if you need to take out the distance speed for this second point, you could take out distance upon time taken. Again, it will be 1 meter per second. Similarly, when it is traveling 3 meters in 3 seconds, we could again find out the speed, that is 3 by 3, it becomes 1 meter per second. Okay, so this is about the speed. It is traveling with a uniform speed, and this type of motion is said to be the uniform motion. Now if we need to talk about non-uniform motion, it means that unequal distance in equal interval of time. Unequal distance means, in 1 second this is traveling 3 meters, and for next 1 second it could travel 2 meters, and in the third second, okay, in the third second it is traveling 10 meters. Fine. So we can see that there is uneven types of distances covered in uneven times of interval of time. Okay, so it could be non-uniform motion. Now if we talk about we could say that in next 1 second this is traveling, it is traveling with this type of speed, and in third second it is traveling this type of speed. It means that the time is uniform but the distance is not uniform. It means that this is again a type of non-uniform motion. Now for example, if the time is also not uniform, suppose that this is 5 seconds, this is 1 second, and next in 7 seconds it is traveling this much distance. Now in this case both the things are not even. That is why this type of motion is said to be as non-uniform motion, and if you need to find out the speed for this, you will not be able to find out the equal speed. It means that the speed becomes non-uniform speed. Okay, so this is very easy to find out. Say for example, if you need to find out the speed for the first case, then you could write the same formula. Speed is equal to distance upon time taken. Now the distance is given 3 meters, 3 upon 5. Okay, then 0.6 seconds meter per second. Next is 2 meter in 1 second. It means that 2 meter per second. Next is 7 and 10. So 10 meters by 7. 1 point something the answer would come. So you are seeing that 0.6, 2 and 1 meter is coming. It means that it is having different types of speed in different times. That is why it is said to be as non-uniform motion. Okay, now if we talk about the examples of uniform and non-uniform motion, is that whenever we are talking about uniform motion, it means that we are saying that it is about, we are talking an object which is moving at a uniform speed. Okay, which means that it is traveling, it is carrying equal distance in equal interval of time. Now if you need to give the example of uniform motion and non-uniform motion, is that when a train or a bus is moving at a place where for example, if we talk about a car which is moving or a bus which is moving on the highway where there is less traffic, then what happens? The object will be moving, it would be moving with a uniform speed. Similarly, if the bus is reaching towards the towards its bus stop, then what happens? It is going to travel at a speed which is not very uniform. It means that because it is in traffic now, so what happens, this applies brakes so much and the speed is not uniform. That is why this type of motion, when the bus is approaching towards the bus stand, it means that it is traveling with a non-uniform speed, or it is showing non-uniform motion. And if the bus is moving on highway where there is less traffic, it means that it is moving with a uniform speed and it shows it is a uniform motion. Okay, so this is about the uniform and non-uniform speed. This is about uniform and non-uniform motion. Now if you need to plot a graph, I'll just tell you how to plot a graph just after some time. First we'll discuss some more examples. Okay, now one more thing here, only the concept of average speed. Average speed comes in the light. Now what do you mean by the term average speed? Now if you say that what is the formula for speed? Speed was distance upon time taken. Now if we are talking about this non-uniform motion, it means that speed would not be uniform. Okay, now if it was like 1 meter is traveled in 1 second, then again 5 meters is traveled in 2 seconds, and if then again 3 meters is traveled in, again it took only 1 second, or it is in 3rd seconds. So you are seeing that unequal distances is traveled in an equal interval of time. Okay, now if we talk about the average speed, how can you say that if it is moving with what speed? So here what you will do, we will just calculate the average speed and you'll come to know that the object or the bus is moving with which speed. Okay, so this is what is about the average speed. Here what you will do, here the formula becomes total distance upon total time. Okay, total time. So what would be the answer for this? The average speed means it is the total distance upon total time taken. What is the total distance? 5 plus 1 meter plus 3 meter. Okay. Then what would be the answer? It would total is 9 meters. 5 plus 1 6 plus 3 9 meters. And what about the seconds? It is how much seconds? 3 plus 2 5 plus 1 6 seconds. Okay, so what would be the answer? The answer would be it is about 6 seconds. And what is about the time? It is about 9 meters. So 9 meters in 6 seconds. What would be the answer? The average speed is 3. Average speed is how much? It is about 1 point something, the answer would come. So the average speed is 1 meter per second. Okay, so this is about the average speed which you are going to calculate when you have unequal distance and equal interval of time, or whatever amount of time is, whatever time is there, we can always calculate the average speed with the help of this by adding the distance and total time. Okay, so let's find out some more average speed, and then you'll come to know how to find out the average speed by taking the total distance with respect to total time. So the concept of average speed is that average speed means how are you going to calculate this average speed? The formula remains same, that the formula for speed was distance upon time taken. But here what is the formula? The formula will be total distance upon total time. Total time taken. Okay, for covering this total distance. So this is about how to calculate the average speed. So it's very easy to calculate the average speed, is that total distance upon total time taken. Okay, now here we can see that whenever an object is placed, this object is going to tell you about the average speed when we have the total distance and total time. Now if for example we have several distances covered in several times, now if you could see that 1 meter is travelled in first second, again 9 meters is travelled in next 1 second. Okay, then if you say that we are having 3 meter was travelled in next 1 second or next 2 seconds. Now what would be the average speed? The average speed would be the total distance upon total time. Now if we calculate this distance and the time, we can find out we could find out the average speed. So for doing that, we can easily find out by taking out this total distance, that is 9 plus 1 10 plus 3 13 meters. Total 13 meters is there. And what about total time? 2 plus 1 3 plus 1 4 seconds is there. So what about the average speed? Average speed is total distance upon total time. Total distance is 13 upon time 4 seconds. Okay, then the answer would become 4 3s are 12, we would have 1, then 4 2s are 8 and 5. 3.25 meter per second is the speed, average speed for this vehicle. Okay, so this is about, so here we could easily calculate the average speed by taking out total distance upon total time taken. Okay, so this is about the average speed where an object is not traveling with a constant speed, but it is changing the speed from time to time. So we need to have all the total time, and we should also have the total distance. So by comparing these two things, that total distance upon total time, we could easily find out the answer for, and we could easily take out the average speed. So this is known as this formula is always working whenever you need to find out the average speed, okay, for any vehicle. Now average speed is a concept which was related with the speed. Now if we talk about the next thing, that is that would be uniform and non-uniform motion. Now if you need to plot the graph, you should always have the data with you. So what about the data? So the data would be very easy, that how would you take it? So I just quickly write down the data, and then we are going to plot the graph. And I think in maths also you all have plotted the graph. That becomes very easy for you all to how to calculate, how to find out the, how to draw the graph for this also this uniform motion also. Okay, so if you need to draw the graph, you need to have the data first of all. So I'll write the data for this distance and time, and the another would be for time. Okay, so distance is 1 meter in 1 second, 2 meters in 2 seconds, 3 meters in 3 seconds, and 4 meters in 4 seconds. Okay, and 5 meters in 5 seconds. So we have these 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 datas we have, and then we are going to plot a graph. Okay, so just quickly copy this down in your fair copy or wherever you are practicing this. You could easily find out that how the distance, what is the distance, what is the time taken. Now we are going to draw the graph. Okay, for drawing the graph you should know some basic concepts of drawing the graph first of all. Okay, so we will just write down, we'll make a graph, distance time graph, and we could easily find out the speed of any object, or we could easily be telling that whether then this motion is uniform motion or it is a non-uniform motion. Okay, so this is the starting point that starts from 0 at x. This is x axis, this is y axis. Okay, now in maths also you all have plotted the graph, so it is very easy for you all to plot the graph in science now. So here where x axis and y axis meets, it becomes the origin. It is marked with the 0. Okay, and then, or it is marked with O. Okay, now next is that we could at the x axis we could plot the time, and at y axis we could plot the distance. Okay, we will draw the arrow like this. Fine. Now the data was that 1 meter in 1 second, 2 meter in 2 seconds, 3 meter in 3 seconds, and so on till 5 meters in 5 seconds. Now if you have drawn this time, we could easily, we can see that the limit is from 1, it is starting from 1 and ending with 5. So you could see, we could write down at equal distance 1 second, time is in second, we will write the units, distance is in meter. Okay, so this would also be written with the time and distance, in what unit you are comparing. So we will write 1 second, then 2 seconds, then 3 seconds, then 4 seconds, and then 5 seconds. Okay, and similarly here also we could see that the distance is varying from 1 meter till 5 meters. So you will plot the graph as 1 meter, then 2 meters, then 3 meters, then 4 meters, and 5 meter. Okay, now next we will draw the you will plot the points, and then we will join the line. So the first line says this first readings is 1 meter in 1 second. 1 meter in 1 second, we'll get a point somewhere here. Next in 2 meters we'll get in 2 seconds. Then 3 meters in 3 seconds here, 4 meters in 4 seconds here, and 5 meter in 5 seconds here. Okay, so now if we are going to draw the line, we can see that we are finding a straight line. So this straight line tells you we get a straight line. This straight line tells us that this motion is uniform. Why this is uniform motion? Because it is traveling equal distance in equal interval of time, and whenever we are joining this line we get a straight line. Okay, so this is a straight line graph, and we could easily find out by seeing this graph that this is a graph for which type of motion? This is showing you uniform motion. Okay, this is telling you about uniform motion. So this is very easy to understand that which type of motion is being depicted by which type of graph. If you get a straight line graph, it means that we are showing with a motion which is in a straight line, and this is also telling you about that it is traveling with a uniform speed. Now if you need to take out the speed for this, we can have the distance, we are having the time, we can easily find out the speed also. For this formula for speed is it's very same, that is the distance upon time taken. Now if we have the distance that is 1 meter, in 1 second we can have 1 by 1, it means 1 meter per second. Similarly 2 by 2 we will have 1 meter per second. So at each and every time, at each and every instant of time, we can have the same speed of that vehicle. So this is how we calculate the speed by using this graph. Okay, now if you can see this graph very easily, you could find out that what kind of motion is this. So this is a uniform motion, and we could draw a straight line graph here. So children, today we have seen about the average speed, which means its formula says it is a total distance upon total time taken. So if we have different interval of time, we could have different speeds also, so it becomes non-uniform speed. Then only we need to find out the average speed, because we have different times at different speed is there, so we can get an average by calculating the total distance with total interval of time. Okay, so this is all about the uniform, and then we have also seen about two types of motion, that is the uniform motion and non-uniform motion. Okay, so this was all about the today's video, that we have seen how to plot the graph also. In the next video I'll tell you about some more things about the graph, children. So that's all for today's video. I will meet you all in the next video with the next topic to be discussed. Again we will be starting with the graph part, and then I'll discuss more things. Okay children, that's all for today's video.